The text message came at 2:37 a.m. "Can you meet me at our spot? I need to tell you something." I'd known Ellie since we were 5, 22 years of friendship, but something in those words made my heart race. I had no idea that what she would whisper to me that night would not only change her life forever, but mine too. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today for another story time. If this is your first time here, I share real stories about life-changing moments that remind us how powerful our words and actions can be. If you find yourself moved by this story, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to join our community of storytellers and listeners. I remember the chill in the air as I walked to the old playground where Ellie and I had spent countless childhood afternoons. The swings creaked in the gentle breeze, and there she was, sitting on our favorite bench, her face half hidden in shadow. Even from a distance I could see her hands trembling. "Thanks for coming," she said, her voice barely audible. We sat in silence for what felt like eternity, the distant sound of traffic the only thing breaking the quiet between us. Finally, she took a deep breath and turned to face me. "I've been living a lie," she said, tears welling in her eyes. "Every day feels like I'm suffocating, like I'm wearing a mask that's getting heavier." She paused, gathering courage. "I'm coming out," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I can't hide who I am anymore." The weight of her confession hung in the air between us. In that moment, I realized how much trust she was placing in me, how vulnerable she had made herself. My response would either be a bridge or a wall between us. I reached for her hand. The words that came out of my mouth next were simple, but they changed everything. "I love you exactly as you are. Thank you for trusting me with your truth." Ellie collapsed into tears, years of hidden fear and anxiety pouring out. She later told me she had imagined this moment hundreds of times, always with dread, always expecting rejection, even from me, her oldest friend. Growing up in our small conservative town hadn't been easy. Ellie's parents were deeply religious, their views on sexuality rigid and unyielding. Her father was a respected community leader who frequently spoke against lifestyle choices that contradicted their beliefs. Ellie had spent years listening to these sermons at the dinner table, each word driving her deeper into hiding. The weeks that followed her coming out to me were filled with late-night conversations and careful planning. Ellie wasn't ready to tell her family yet, but she wanted to stop hiding completely. We created a support system, reaching out to friends we knew would be accepting, researching resources, and finding communities where she could be herself without judgment. I remember the first time she attended a local LGBTQ+ support group. She called me afterward, her voice lighter than I'd heard in years. For the first time, she said, "I felt like I could breathe, like I wasn't alone." But the real challenge loomed ahead, telling her family. Ellie postponed it repeatedly, finding reasons to delay the inevitable. Her sister's wedding was coming up, her father's birthday, the holidays, always another reason to maintain the facade. Then came the day her mother found a journal she'd been keeping. Ellie called me in panic, her words tumbling out between sobs. "She knows. Mom found everything. They want me home tonight for a family discussion." I offered to go with her, but she insisted this was something she needed to face alone. "Just be ready," she said. "I might need a place to stay." That night was the longest of my life. I paced my apartment, checking my phone every few minutes, preparing the guest room just in case. At 11:42 p.m., my doorbell rang. Ellie stood there, eyes red and puffy, a hastily packed duffel bag at her feet. "They said I need to pray about my confusion," she whispered. "Dad said I can come home when I've found my way back to God." She moved in with me that night. What we thought would be a temporary arrangement stretched into weeks, then months. Her parents refused her calls. Her younger brother was the only family member who maintained contact, sneaking texts when their parents weren't around. During this time, I watched Ellie transform. Despite the heartbreak of family rejection, there was a new authenticity to her. She started therapy, changed jobs to a more accepting environment, and slowly built a chosen family of friends who celebrated her for who she was. 6 months after moving in with me, Ellie received an unexpected text from her mother, asking to meet for coffee. Ellie was terrified but hopeful. "What if this is just another attempt to fix me?" she asked as we sat on our couch the night before the meeting. Then you'll know you've done everything you could, I told her. But maybe, just maybe, she's had time to think. The coffee meeting lasted 3 hours. When Ellie returned, her expression was complex. Not the pure joy of complete acceptance, but not the devastation of rejection either. She's trying, Ellie said simply. She asked questions and actually listened to the answers. She said she misses me. Dad still won't talk about it, but she's been reading books trying to understand. It was the beginning of a long, complicated journey of family reconciliation. There were setbacks, holiday dinners where certain topics were carefully avoided, relatives who made insensitive comments, her father's continued struggle to fully accept his daughter. But there was also growth, slow, imperfect, human growth. 2 years after that night on the playground, I stood beside Ellie at her sister's wedding. Her mother hugged her warmly when we arrived. Her father shook her hand, not the embrace she longed for, but a step forward from where they had been. Her grandmother, who everyone had expected to be the most resistant, surprised everyone by telling Ellie, "Life's too short to lose people you love over who they choose to love." That night, during the reception, Ellie pulled me aside. "Remember when I came out to you?" she asked. "I was so scared you'd walk away." "I could never," I told her. "Your answer changed everything," she said. "If you had rejected me too, I might never have found the courage to keep being honest about who I am. You made me believe I deserved to be accepted." Looking back now, 5 years later, I'm struck by how much power we have in those pivotal moments of others' lives. Ellie is thriving now, in a loving relationship, reconnected with most of her family, and working as a counselor for LGBTQ+ youth. She often tells them her story, emphasizing how important it is to find at least one person who will stand by them unconditionally. Sometimes the most profound impact we can have on someone's life isn't through grand gestures or elaborate plans, but simply by being there, by responding with love when they show us their most vulnerable truth. My answer that night didn't just change Ellie's life, it changed mine too, teaching me about courage, authenticity, and the immeasurable value of accepting people exactly as they are. I've learned that when someone trusts you enough to share their truth, how you respond in that moment can echo through their life forever. Choose kindness, choose acceptance, choose love. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, please consider subscribing to hear more stories about the moments that change us and the connections that save us. Remember that your words have power. Use them to build bridges, not walls. I'll see you in the next video.